Hello everybody and welcome back to Ancient Awakening with Kastalia. I'm Kastalia and we are discussing the spiritual implications of the Minotaur today. The Minotaur is a part of mythos that is very fascinating. It goes all the way back to the time of the Minoans, which were like the pre-Greeks in Crete, and the Minotaur has a lot of different stories. But specifically I want to dive into the spiritual implications of like the beast itself and what it could represent, and then talk about the myths that the Minotaur is a part of, which it has a few different stories. Now I want to do this in a different way. I want to do this in a way that can highlight, the history and the art and the story, and also highlight the spiritual implications. So I want to change the way, and I've been thinking about this and I've been brainstorming this for a while, change the way that I approach Ancient Awakening in a way that can highlight all aspects of the myth and the spiritual implications within the myth. So we are going to do this by me sharing artwork, voicing over the story of the Minotaur, and then coming back and talking about the spiritual implications, maybe by sitting like this, maybe by doing some voiceover, some little combination of both. But I want to really give an opportunity for my creativity and also give an opportunity to really highlight all levels of the story, because I was thinking about this and that there's more of a spiritual implication not just in the stories of the myths but also in the artwork of the myths as well, the artwork of the time, because what we create, what we use our creativity to create, tells a story. And there could be spiritual implications also hidden in the illustrations and the artwork and the paintings of the Minotaur from the ancient time, and that's something that I want to include. And if this new style works, this is how Ancient Awakening will move going forward, where I might not be as face-to-face talking with you guys, but still giving an opportunity for the myth and the spiritual implications to shine, and also giving me this creative inspiration, because something that's very fascinating to me when I look into the beasts of mythology is that there is a lot of creativity there, and there is a lot of inspiration there, and they have to mean something more. When you think about it, there's absolutely symbolism hidden there, but the way and the stories that were created, this is the essence of creativity. So I'm going to apply that moving forward. A creature born from hubris and desire, the Minotaur is a product of divine consequence. More than a monster, he is a mirror, reflecting the moment when human instinct breaks free from the boundaries of civilization. Many say the Minotaur is a child of a curse, but when you hold up the magnifying glass of spiritual significance, you find that he is the child of a truth humanity carries. To speak of the Minotaur is to speak of the part of the psyche that was never allowed to grow in the light. Orienting in Greek mythology, the Minotaur was born to Queen Pasphia of Crete after a divine punishment from Poseidon, and was subsequently imprisoned in the labyrinth designed by Daedalus at the command of King Minos. This context grounds the Minotaur's story in the ancient world and highlights the roles of fate, punishment, and consequence of human and divine actions. The birth of the Minotaur arises from a union that should never have occurred, symbolizing what forms within us when we betray our own nature, intuition, and divine alignment. The Minotaur's archetype can be seen as the child of misalignment and instability. His mother was driven by lust and mated with a bull, violating the sacred laws of nature and creating a being destined never to know true safety, stability, or love. This misalignment is the energy that grows when we ignore truth, suppress instinct, or act from the ego rather than the soul. He could also represent the shadow-born child, the part of us created during moments of unspoken dreams, self-betrayal, emotional abandonment, and inherited trauma. This is the wound that manifests as a creature. Daedalus, the architect of the labyrinth, also symbolizes the mind's complexity. His creation is not just a prison, but a space for transformation, a reminder that our most confining structures can also be the site of profound change. When the Minotaur is trapped in the labyrinth, a structure built to hide what should be seen, the labyrinth becomes the subconscious mind. Its twisting corridors of fear, memory, and instinct represent the parts of you locked away because they frightened others, or even yourself. This is the energy of suppressed anger, forbidden desires, primal instincts, and unprocessed grief. The too much self, making the labyrinth a container where the shadow waits to be acknowledged. Compared to satyrs and centaurs, other mythical hybrids, the Minotaur stands apart. While satyrs and centaurs often embody celebration, instinct, and nature's freedom, the Minotaur is marked by isolation, secrecy, and the burden of shame. The Minotaur is also seen as a creature of duality, being half human and half bull, much like satyrs and centaurs. This duality is an important aspect of stability and balance. Understanding the yin and the yang, the man and the beast within the man, and the humanity within the beast. Here, the duality represents the tension between reason and instinct, order and chaos, identity and impulse. The Minotaur is the raw, unrefined power within you, the ore that can become sacred strength if integrated, or destructive chaos if ignored. The unmastered self, or the forgotten self. The Minotaur is alone, not because it is monstrous by nature, but because no one truly tried to understand it. At least, not deeply enough for it to feel loved, supported, or cared for. Naturally, its aggression is rooted in fear. Don't we all act from fear when there is something we are avoiding? Or when someone refuses to acknowledge what we do, who we are? When we lose trust, we act from fear, and that can manifest as aggression. This isolation, the isolation of this creature, the creature experiences a deep, profound loneliness. This can be a metaphor for the parts of ourselves that we were never given language, guidance, or compassion for. The Minotaur was never treated with respect or love, immediately treated as a monster. So it was constantly in emotional isolation. The exile, the exiled self, the emotions you were taught to hide, the instincts you were told were wrong, the power deemed dangerous. This is the Minotaur. He is a creature born of others' choices and punished simply for existing. When Theseus arrives, he does not defeat the Minotaur by accident. He enters the labyrinth with intention, clarity, and a thread, a gift given out of love that provides awareness, the guiding line of consciousness. Is it possible that Theseus represents the higher self entering the subconscious to confront what has been buried? Ariadne's thread, given out of love, offers intuition, guidance, and a reminder of the inner voice, a reminder to not lose yourself. Ariadne herself is a figure of compassion and longing. After helping Theseus, her own fate is one of exile and transformation, reflecting the sacrifices made for love and liberation. The confrontation was about defeating the rage of the monster, about stopping it. But stopping it didn't have to mean the creature's death. Its rage was so untamed that it acted worse than a beast, worse than a monster, worse than a man. The Minotaur killed out of false rage, doing what it was trained to do, acting out of instinct. Who's to say that with a different upbringing, the Minotaur wouldn't have become something else, something better? In this sense, he is the shadow self. He could be seen as a guardian of the inner gate, the force that protects the deepest truth of your soul, standing at the labyrinth's center in the subconscious. The center is sacred. It is our truth, and when we avoid our truth, it becomes a shadow. He carries your primal power, authentic desire, unclaimed identity, and instinctual wisdom. To understand yourself, you must go head to head with the Minotaur. When Theseus kills the Minotaur, it is an act of integration, the moment when the shadow is no longer feared, but understood. After the confrontation and integration, the journey out of the labyrinth is equally important. It symbolizes the return to wholeness, where the lessons learned from embracing the shadow can be lived out in the world, fostering healing and self-acceptance. The Minotaur's death symbolizes reclaiming instinct, transforming rage into strength, fear into clarity, and freeing the self from the inherent shame. The labyrinth itself is both a prison and a place of potential transformation. While it confines the Minotaur, it also offers the possibility of self-discovery, an integration for those who enter it with courage and awareness. The Minotaur dies because of a part of you was once monstrous, burdened by shame.
When you embrace this part, you become human again, learn to trust again, and can finally find stability. This can be symbolized in the Minotaur's death. The Minotaur died because what the beast was hiding, what the beast was protecting, no longer needed to be hidden in the shadows. In our modern lives, the Minotaur myth represents so much, so much of our world. We've become beastly in ways that we don't acknowledge, in ways that feed the ego. But when the ego dies, what's left is the human. That would be our consciousness. And when that dies, then the subconsciousness, the soul, it remains extremely relevant because we hide a part of ourselves. We hide our highest self and lead with the ego. Unfortunately, that is what our society has left before us, a reality that empowers the forgetting of one's true self. So, what remains relevant is that we are often called to face our inner monsters as well. Because in the mirror that someone else holds to us by their own actions, we are forced to face our inner monsters, trauma, shame, or unclaimed potential. And by doing so, we can reclaim our authenticity. We also live in a day and age where we have enough time, stability, and safety to reflect and heal. And when we reclaim our authenticity, we can contribute to healing both personally and collectively. So we can see the labyrinth as part of the soul's journey, and the Minotaur as the shadow self that must be overcome and, in a sense, integrated. When you walk into your own labyrinth, you are not going to slay a beast. You're going to meet the part of yourself that has been waiting for you. The Minotaur represents the human's uncontrolled anger, its rage, its pain. The Minotaur represents the pain at the center of the human being. That that is a very, very important symbolism of this creature. But more than that, he represents the shadow self. He is treated like a burden because he represents the lustful, jealous, wrathful, seven deadly concepts depth acts of his mother, the rage of the king, using him to slaughter and punish the children of other kingdoms. He was seen for his potential, but for the negative potential, and used for rage. But we don't have to take our potential and use it for something negative. We can use it for something more, for something deeper. We can liberate ourselves from the labyrinth. We can liberate ourselves from the influence of the shadow side of the Minotaur. We can defeat the beast and escape. And instead of Theseus, who left false promises behind, we can make meaningful promises. Because Theseus did not face his shadow, he destroyed it. So he never integrated the lessons, and thus left behind another soul to be exiled. But that soul had her divine justice with receiving love from Dionysius. Karmic justice is also very relevant in the Minotaur story. That he carries a key to understanding shadow work. We must face our anger, we must face our rage, and instead of trying to hide it by destroying it, maybe we should listen to what it has to say. Until the next episode of Ancient Awakening, I call you to reclaim yourself and integrate the lessons and wisdom from your shadow by affirming that my anger is not a monster. My anger is a guide, it is a teacher, and it will show me what I am ignoring from my shadow and help me integrate the parts of myself that I have ignored. By affirming that I am not defined by my creation, by my parents, by my upbringing. I am defined by the actions that I take moving forward with the knowledge and wisdom that I gain from understanding and integrating my shadow. My anger is my anger. And it can come from a violation of boundaries. It can come from feeling like there is some unjust action occurring in my personal or in the collective world. But it is my anger. And I'm going to understand it and I'm going to learn from it so I may grow. And I invite you to reflect on what is hidden in your shadow. What is your Minotaur? And how can you treat it with love and kindness instead of destroying it out of fear? And I encourage you to do this throughout the remainder of this month, to continue understanding how the Minotaur's symbolism and spiritual significance is mirrored in your personal life. Continue seeking alignment, awakening, and understanding from the metaphors and teachings of the ancient ones. Keep activating your ancient wisdom.